Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dave's Bucket. Chase Sapphire Reserve just raised their annual fee by 45%. We need to talk about this. All right, so welcome back. I need to talk about this. And by the way, I did a video on this a couple days ago, and I had to take it down because the volume was out of whack for some reason. So apologies if you already watched my rant, but I'm actually better prepared to rant today than I was the other day anyway. So funny story or a sad story, depending on how you look at it. I'm sitting in the Chase Sapphire Reserve Lounge in Philadelphia this week. By the way, the lounge is awesome. I've got a video on that. I'll link that on the end screen so you can check that out. Really nice lounge. And I'm sitting there in the lounge. I'm drinking a nice glass of wine, and I'm waiting for my food order to come and everything like that. And I said, well, I'll check my email. And I checked my email, and I've got an email from Chase letting me know that the annual fee is increasing from $550 a year to $795. Wow. Now, the way they're spinning this is that it's additional value. So, at that point in time, I knew it was a huge increase, but I didn't really know about all these additional values they were going to provide. So, I've got the email right here, and I'm going to go through it. And, I understand everybody's situation is different. And some people can make use of certain benefits and some people can't, and things like that. And one of the things I always urge people to do is kind of look at your own situation maybe once a year. I did a video about 6 months ago where I cleaned out my sock drawer and got rid of a bunch of cards in one day. And what triggered that was the American Express Platinum kicking people out of the Delta Sky Club, going from unlimited Delta Sky Club visits to 6 per year, which wasn't going to be very helpful for me. So I did a video on that, and I'll link that also on the end screen so you can check that out. But it's a good idea to sort of look at your situation, compare it to what your actual travel patterns are and your spending habits and things like that, because we all pay for stuff we don't use. And so that's a good idea to do that. So I want to go through this, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to look at it from my perspective. Can I get this additional value out of it? And kind of a mini comparison with American Express Platinum, because I dumped the Platinum for Reserve just 6 months ago, and now they've raised the fee. So let's talk a little bit about it and go through this email. So when I dumped the American Express Platinum in favor of the Sapphire Reserve, the number one thing that I need is Priority Pass. And so I had that through American Express, have that through Chase Sapphire Reserve. And the $550 annual fee versus a $695 annual fee on with American Express, I took a look at that because I was so mad about being kicked out of the Delta Sky Club. I said, I'm not going to do that. So they both offer Priority Pass, so that's good. They also both have a travel credit. Now, Chase has a $300 credit. American Express has a $200 credit. And so if you kind of look at it from that angle, you back that out and you come up with what I call an effective fee. So you back out the $200 from American Express, and you got about a $500 effective fee. You take the $550 Sapphire Reserve and you back out the $300, and you're down to about a $250 fee. But with the increase, they're basically both at $500. They're $495, but I'm rounding up. So Priority Pass is the same. Now the lounge situation is different because you've got Chase lounges on one hand and American Express lounges on the other hand. Now, I give American Express the benefit on that one because they have more lounges, right? However, Chase, I've only been in two of the lounges, the Philadelphia one I just mentioned and one in Washington Dulles, which is actually an Etihad lounge. It's kind of a co-branded situation, but I give Chase, the thumbs up on food, and I can take guests, whereas I couldn't take a guest into the American Express lounge, which is super important because I'm retired and I travel with my wife probably half the time. So those benefits are kind of on par with each other. The travel credit with Chase is way easier to use. You know, with American Express, you've got a designated airline. You can't even use it for airplane tickets. You can use it for additional collection, SkyMile, award ticket fees, bag fees, stuff like that. I don't pay most of that, right? I don't pay bag fees, stuff like that. So, you know, at a $250 effective fee, and I've been to 10 lounges already this year with Priority Pass. So if you say 25 a visit, guess what? I've already made money on this. So at a $550 fee, I am quite happy with my decision to switch to Chase. But now it's going up $250. Can I build an additional $250 in value from this increase? Can I justify, or can Chase justify the increase in fee? So I want to go through this email. So I'm going to look over at the screen, so apologies for that, but the email starts with over $2,700 in annual value. As of October 26, you'll get an additional $1,500 in annual value. So they're saying, we're raising your fee $250, but we're giving you $1,500. By the way, for new people, it goes into effect immediately. Like the annual fee is already at $795. For those of us that have already had it, it doesn't go up till October, right? So they're saying $1,500 in extra value. And by the way, we're raising your fee 45%. Man, who does that? Who raises their product price by 45%? They're trying to be on parity with American Express. I don't know. I mean, we have to look at this. So travel credits are just the beginning. Well, we already talked about that. It's $300 versus $200. We're looking at a $500 effective fee once you back the travel credits out for both cards, Chase Sapphire Reserve and American Express Platinum. All right, new as of October, 8 times points on Chase travel purchases, which replaces 5x on flights and 10x on hotels and cars. So that's actually an improvement on flights, but it's a devalue on hotels and cars. For me personally, that's good. Now, I have bought several airplane tickets since I got the Chase, and I did buy them with the Chase card, but guess what? I couldn't buy them on their travel portal because the fare was always higher on Chase's portal than it was where I was looking. And in 2 cases, in one case, it didn't even recognize the airport I was flying into, which was Kukuza, South Africa. And the other one, it didn't recognize, I think it was the airline. It didn't recognize the airline. But on the other ones, it did. The other 4 or 5 that I tried to book, it recognized everything, but the fare was higher. So I went and booked straight through the airline. So you can, if you spend a lot of money on hotels and you book through Chase, this is a devalue. For me, it's good. It's an improvement. All right, 4 times points on flights and hotels purchased directly with the airline. Wow, that's replacing 3x. And so that's an improvement. So if you spend a lot of money, that one extra point can be good. $500 in annual credits towards the Edit, our hand-picked collection of 1,000 hotels and resorts, plus complimentary benefits, including $100 property credit, room upgrade, and more. That's the equivalent of the American Express. I think it's called Fine Hotels and Resorts Collection. They have that too. I've never actually used it because the price of the hotels is so high. So this $500, by the way, is $250 every 6 months. So you can get $250 on each stay. That's a lot of money, but on the other hand, these hotels are really high priced. So I've never actually booked these hotels. These hotels are, $500 a night, $1,000 a night, stuff like that. All right, $300 annual credit, travel credit, that hasn't changed. 1,300 plus lounges, Chase Sapphire Lounge, and Priority Pass. So I've already kind of talked about that. Chase does not have very many lounges yet. Again, check out my review of the Philadelphia Lounge, and in the description of the video, I've got it listed where all the lounges are, stuff like that. So they're nice lounges, but they don't have many of them. $100, $120 statement credit for global entry, pre-check, or Nexus. Every card has that. I've got like 5 cards that have that. New, IHG Platinum. That's a really nice benefit. For me, it doesn't matter. I already have it. I don't need that. Reserve travel protections. That's, standard insurance. Every card has that. Reserve travel designers. End-to-end travel planning from a custom itinerary to trip support. Valued at $300 per trip. I'd have to look into that. Sounds like a travel agent that they're getting commission on that. No foreign transaction fees. Everybody has that. All right. $300 at Sapphire Reserve exclusive tables. $300 in annual credits. Kind of like the hotel thing. It's split every 6 months. It's $150 every 6 months. Okay. And that sounds like a great benefit. And I could probably actually get the $250 that I'm looking for from the increase from that. But wait, they're only in San Francisco, LA, Chicago, and New York. So if you don't live there and you don't travel there all the time, useless. To me, it's useless. Let's see here. $250 annually to Apple TV and Apple Music. I don't know if that's probably split per month. I didn't even look at that because I don't do any of that. All right, new StubHub, $300. That sounds pretty awesome. I go to a lot of concerts, so I could really make use of that, and that would pay for this increase. Okay. Again, like the other ones I just mentioned, it's every 6 months, so it's $300 a year, but it's $150 every 6 months. Wow, if I go to a $150 concert, it's free. If I do that twice throughout the year, I've paid for the increase in the annual fee. That would be awesome. However, I went to StubHub and looked at some of their prices, and I used a concert that I just bought as a comparison. And I actually bought a VIP ticket for this concert so I could go to the sound check. And when I went to StubHub, they didn't offer VIP tickets. They didn't have any. But I looked at the general admission versus what you can buy it from the venue. This is actually a venue where you don't have to use Ticketmaster. Usually you have to use Ticketmaster. And the general admission ticket was double. It was double what I could get it from the venue for. So I view this $300 benefit as cut it in half. It's worth $150. So if I use the StubHub, I've paid for maybe $150 of my $250 increase. Peloton, $120 on Peloton memberships. If you use it, great. I don't. Lyft, $120 in credit. It's $10 a month though. I have that with American Express and Delta American Express with Uber, $10 a month. Big deal. If you take an Uber every month, you can use it. DoorDash, $420. Wow, that sounds really good. It's some kind of subscription, VIP subscription that's worth $120. Dash Pass is what it's called. Who cares about that? And then it's $5 a month for restaurants and $20 a month for non-restaurant purchases. I'm guessing that's pharmacies or grocery stores. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll never use that. That's useless to me. All right, points boost. With the new points boost officers, your points will be worth up to 2x when you use points. However, the points you have now are still good for 1.5 if the 2's not available. But any new points you earn after October is a 1-for-1. So that's actually a devalue. I don't know how often these points boosts are going to be available. I guess it's not in there yet because I have 4 trips booked with Chase points right now. 2 hotels, 2 cars. And I went in and looked to see if I could reprice them and get some points back. And the one hotel was actually completely sold out now. But the other 3, the 2 cars and the other hotel, they had actually increased. So that might just be because the price went up and they haven't launched this yet. So, all right. So, I have not built $250 worth of additional value into this by any stretch of the imagination. So I've got a decision to make before October, just like I made a decision last year with American Express. The only other way to get priority passes through Capital One, I have a very low opinion of them, but at the end of the day, that may be the only way to get priority pass for a reasonable amount. I really only view a lounge visit as worth $25. Sometimes it's not even worth that. You pop in for a coffee and a hard-boiled egg and a croissant because you only have a few minutes. It's not worth $25, Now, the Chase Lounge, when I was there the other day, I had a really nice meal and I had one glass of wine. If I would have been there longer, if it was later in the day, they had some nice cocktails. I could have easily gotten a $50 value out of that visit, but I wasn't there long enough and wasn't that time of the day. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, to be honest with you. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I've got it for now, and I got to figure out how to get some additional value out of it, because to me, this is insane to raise it 45%. That's just crazy. It's just crazy. So let me know what you think. Does this work for you? Do you see a benefit in these additional value? Would you switch back to American Express if you were in my situation? I mean, let's talk about this down in the comments. So thanks for visiting Dave's Bucket. If you like this content, please, please, please give me a thumbs up. Most of all, subscribe so we can continue the conversation about travel. I've also got some great videos on South Africa, Mediterranean cruise, Thailand, India, where else? All kinds of places that I've been in the last couple of years. So please check out some other content, and happy travels. Until then, thanks again for joining Dave's Bucket.